She didn't pay attention to you because you said something wrong? Because you don't have the right car? Because your jawline doesn't have the angle that aesthetic algorithms would approve? No. She didn't pay attention to you because, before any gesture or word, something in her energy field had already announced who you are. And this silent, visceral, and almost always unconscious reading that women have is relentless. The rejection wasn't verbal, it was vibrational. It was a no to the frequency you carried, even if you said everything right. Because in the game of attraction, it's not what you say, it's what you vibrate. It's hard to hear this, I know. But this is exactly where most men get lost. They believe they need to convince someone that they are good enough. They do everything to prove their worth. And in this effort, they deliver their essence on a platter, trying to buy attention with performance. But the brutal truth is that reality doesn't reject you, it reflects you. And in that mirror, you can only see what is already inside you. The rest is illusion. For millennia, esoteric traditions such as Kabbalah have taught this. The external world is merely a projection of the internal world. Centuries later, modern science confirmed the same principle with different words. But in the field of seduction, this principle is still ignored. Most men still believe that having is the path to being, having money to be confident, having beauty to be desired, having muscles to be respected. But this sequence is reversed. The external is merely a consequence. What attracts is not what you have, it's who you are. And even more, who you believe you are. Imagine two men entering a bar. Same physique, same style of clothing. One of them crosses the room as if he belongs there. The other walks as if he's apologizing for existing. One attracts attention, the other is ignored. The difference? None visible, all energetic. It's the silent code of identity, that which you vibrate even before opening your mouth. And if you still believe this is mystical talk, neuroscience will knock you out with a punch. Your brain's ascending reticular activating system filters the world and shows you only what confirms who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as invisible, you will be invisible, even if you scream. This leads us to a dangerous conclusion. The universe doesn't show what is fair. It shows what is consistent with your internal frequency. You can be a good, honest, hardworking guy and still attract emotional scarcity, rejection, and disinterest. Because the universe, like women, doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your identity. And identity isn't created with words. It's created with deep beliefs, with the vibration you maintain when no one is watching. Plato already said, "Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods." It wasn't poetry, it was strategy. Awareness of your identity determines the world you access. Two people, in the same environment, living opposite experiences. One sees abundance, the other sees threat. One attracts admiring glances, the other carries an invisible weight of rejection. The same world, two realities. The difference lies in the mental code, in the personal frequency. And here lies one of the greatest saboteurs of your seduction journey, the expectation that the world will reward you for effort. That doesn't exist. Reality isn't a teacher who grades you based on your performance. It's a mirror that relentlessly shows you what you hold as your inner truth. And if your truth is, "I am rejected, beautiful women never choose me, I have to fight hard to get attention," the universe will say amen. It will deliver that to you with surgical precision. And you'll think it's bad luck, karma, or misfortune. Nietzsche wrote that thoughts are the shadows of our feelings, always darker, emptier, and simpler. In the realm of attraction, this phrase becomes a warning. It's no use repeating positive mantras if, inside, your emotions vibrate with fear, need, or scarcity. The woman you want doesn't feel what you say. She feels what you are. And what you are vibrates long before any approach. This is where many get lost in technique, in the script, in memorized phrases. Because they think seduction is about convincing. It's not. Seduction is about emitting signals that resonate with the other person's desire. And for that, you need to be congruent. Have you noticed that some men, even with visible flaws, are magnetic, and others, even visually perfect, seem uninteresting? This is called vibrational coherence. The first is aligned with his essence. The second is trying to be something to please. One emits, the other begs. And no, you don't need to be arrogant, narcissistic, or superior. This is another common misconception. The frequency that attracts isn't that of superiority, it's that of certainty. When you're sure of who you are, the world revolves around you. Not because you impose yourself, but because you're at peace with your own presence. This disarms resistance, triggers curiosity, and awakens desire. Women feel this, even if they can't explain it. And that's why the first transformation isn't in your body, your money, or your style. It's in your vibration. You need to install a new internal operating system, a new version of yourself that's no longer trying to conquer, but choosing who you want to share your energy with. This shift changes everything, because you stop chasing and start creating a field to which people are naturally drawn. Seduction becomes a consequence, no longer an objective. But pay attention, this isn't about pretending. Pretending you're confident when you're terrified. Pretending you don't care when you're desperate for attention. Pretending you have value while feeling small inside. None of that works. The universe and women sense the fake from miles away. What works is rebuilding your vibration from the inside out. It's not fake it till you make it. It's become it until it's obvious. The first time I experienced this transition was almost unintentional. I stopped trying to impress, I stopped searching, and I started investing energy in myself, in my projects, in my body, in my mind, and my convictions. What happened next shocked me. The women who previously ignored me started noticing me, but it wasn't just them. The whole world seemed to respond differently, not because I changed externally, but because I became someone different internally, and the universe simply reflected it. It's as if reality has a secret code. And this code is activated by your internal frequency. With each new belief I installed, a new experience emerged. With each behavior aligned with this new identity, opportunities appeared, and everything started to seem inevitable. Not easy, but fluid, natural, organic. But then, why do so few men access this level of silent seduction? Because it requires courage. Courage to abandon the narrative of struggle. Courage to stop looking for someone to blame outside yourself. Courage to reprogram deep patterns that keep you trapped in the identity of the needy, the rejected, the invisible good guy. It's much easier to blame women, society, or genetics. It's difficult to look in the mirror and admit, if reality treats me this way, it's because this is what I'm vibrating. And that's the most liberating point of all. Because if the world is a reflection, you are the creator. And if you are the creator, you can alter the reflection. You can change the field. You can become magnetic without saying a word. You can make her look at you before you even think of looking. You can make the universe deliver exactly what you are, provided you're great enough to deserve what you desire. Ultimately, everything you experience, including in the game of attraction, is a response to what you believe yourself to be. And as long as that belief is small, fragile, or based on scarcity, nothing will change. Therefore, no matter how hard you try, if the foundation still vibrates with the old version of yourself, the new reality never arrives. The universe doesn't negotiate with what you want, it responds to what you are. The ascending reticular activating system, that brain filter that decides what enters your consciousness, is the guardian of your perception. It determines whether you see possibilities or obstacles. What few understand is that this same system is at work in women, and they capture, with almost mystical precision, what you yourself cannot hide, your vibrational truth. She is not conscious of it, of course, but her body responds. Her gaze changes, her attention fluctuates, her intuition picks up. And when you are misaligned, when your energy says, I need to be approved, while your words say, I am confident, she feels the mismatch. Something doesn't fit, something sounds artificial, and without knowing why, she loses interest. The answer to this is not acting better. It's better alignment, creating coherence between what you think, feel, believe, and project. And this begins at the root, your beliefs about yourself. Belief is not thought. Belief is deep emotional programming. While your mind carries codes like I'm not wanted, I'm invisible, they always prefer others, nothing you do on the surface will work for long. Because your field emits the opposite of what you're trying to represent. Have you ever seen a guy who doesn't seem to make any effort and yet attracts female attention? That's what they call aura, presence, charisma. But the name doesn't matter. What matters is the inner workings. This guy emanates security without arrogance, desire without neediness, availability without urgency. It's a magnetic field that says, I'm here, whole, and the world is welcome to approach. But I don't beg for anything. That for a woman is irresistible, because it vibrates freedom. It vibrates choice, it vibrates power without domination. And here's the detail that almost no one notices. Women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for vibration. They're looking to feel seen, secure, desired, all at the same time. And this emotional trinity doesn't stem from your appearance, but from your identity. And more than that, it's about how you sustain that identity in the face of reality. You can repeat 1,000 times, I'm confident, I'm the prize, I'm irresistible. But if you crumble at her first silence, your energy field shows that it was all just a shell. That inside, you still vibrate insecurity. Therefore, more than words, you need to install a new code. And this code is made of 3 ingredients: repetition, emotion, and intention. Without these 3, there is no reprogramming. With them, you change the source code of your attraction. Let's make this clear. Repetition without emotion becomes an empty mantra. Emotion without intention becomes drama. Intention without repetition becomes an isolated impulse. But when you combine the 3, you create a new frequency in your field, and the universe responds, women respond. Your life changes, not by luck, but by energetic coherence. Now, perhaps you're wondering, but how do I do this practically? The answer is, start with a collapse of reality. This is a concept from quantum physics, but here we apply it to identity. It means acting as if the most confident version of yourself is already active, not pretending, but choosing to be. When you collapse the reality of your best version, your body reacts, your voice changes, your gaze changes, your behavior changes, and like in a mirror, the world around you also begins to change. Imagine entering a room already feeling like everything there will favor you. Not because you need it to validate yourself, but because you are already whole even before being recognized. This energy of completeness is an emotional aphrodisiac. Women feel this. And that's where true interest is born, not from trying to impress, but from the tranquility of being the very field of desire. The manifestation zone is this state, an inner place where external reality bends to your alignment. When you access this zone, everything becomes lighter. The weight of performance disappears. The fear of rejection dissolves. Because now, you're not trying to be chosen. You're choosing who to share your presence with. This reverses the game. Anxiety transforms into selectivity. Urgency becomes magnetism. But be careful, this is not arrogance, it's responsibility. Because by assuming this posture, you also assume that you can no longer hide behind excuses. Now, if reality doesn't reflect what you desire, it's because your internal code is still misaligned. And only you can recalibrate that. Nobody can do it for you. It's the price of true freedom. And that's why so many avoid this path. Because it takes work. Not physical work, but emotional work. It requires facing traumas, changing narratives, revising unconscious pacts you made with yourself years ago. Things like, nobody chooses me, I'm not attractive, I'm plan B. These phrases silently built you, and now you need to dismantle them one by one to rebuild your presence. It's a process, but it's possible. And the first step is recognizing the field you are emitting today. Not what you want to vibrate, but what you actually vibrate. Look at your love life. It shows you. Rejections, silences, lukewarm relationships, disconnection. All of these are symptoms. Not that there's something wrong with the world, but that there's something distorted in your emission. The good news is that the field changes when you change. Literally. Neuroscience has already proven that the brain is plastic. It reorganizes itself with new patterns. When you start acting like who you already are, even without external results, your brain begins to install a new identity. And that's where the Pygmalion effect comes in. Your expectations shape your behaviors, and your behaviors shape your results. This is emotional reprogramming. And it starts with the small details, the way you get out of bed, the way you walk, the intention with which you speak, your posture when entering a room. Everything communicates, everything vibrates, and everything either attracts or repels. The ancients called this the aura. The moderns frequency. Language changes. Truth doesn't. You are a vibrational field in constant emission, and everything around you is a response. That's why seduction isn't a technique. It's an emission. And when you learn to regulate your frequency, you no longer need to chase after it. You just walk, and the world approaches. As Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your lack of success with women isn't bad luck. It's the unconscious in action. But now, you're bringing it to light. And with light comes power. So don't worry if it still seems distant. If you still feel fear, insecurity, or doubt, all of that is part of it. The important thing is to begin. And to begin with truth. With the real intention of changing not the world but yourself. Because when you change your vibration, reality bends. And female desire is no exception. It's part of that. In the end, it's not about conquering, it's about becoming. It's not about being desired, but about vibrating in such a way that desire becomes inevitable. And that's why the greatest seducers aren't the most handsome. They're the most whole, the most authentic, the most consistent, because they understood the code and they decided never to disconnect from it again. When you access that point, seduction ceases to be a struggle and becomes a dance. And the woman who once seemed unattainable now approaches, not because you convinced her, but because you have become the field she always wanted to enter. That is the power of frequency. And it's only the beginning. Most men give up precisely when reality begins to crumble. Not because they lack strategy, charisma, or attitude, but because they lack an invisible strength. The ability to maintain their own frequency, even when everything seems silent. Because this is where the truth is revealed. When she doesn't respond. When WhatsApp doesn't reciprocate. When her gaze wanders, when the answer doesn't come. Your field is only real if it remains stable in the absence of signals. And that's the brutal difference between being a seducer and being emotionally dependent. The seducer sustains himself, the needy one collapses. And this sustainment isn't coldness, it isn't indifference, it's vibrational maturity. It's understanding that true desire doesn't need to beg for presence, it magnetizes it through coherence. But there's a subtle trap here. When you begin the process of internal change, you start emitting a new frequency. But inevitably, the old reality takes time to update itself. And this time lapse is where men sabotage themselves, because habitually they're conditioned to measure the value of their own transmission by the immediate return. But emotional reality, like the universe, responds with a delay. And if in that space you crumble, break the frequency and start begging again, the cycle restarts. Rejection, therefore, is not a verdict. It's an oscillation. And it only affects you to the exact extent that you still need validation. The woman who rejects you isn't hurting you, she's revealing you. Showing where your frequency still depends on external feedback to be confirmed. And at that moment, the ego screams, "I did everything right, why didn't she respond?" But the real question is, was I being myself or was I performing to be approved? The difference is total. Because the true magnetic field isn't concerned with the reaction, it's focused on maintaining the transmission. Like a radio antenna that keeps transmitting even when no one is listening. Because it knows that sooner or later someone will tune in. And whoever tunes in, feels it. And whoever feels it, gets closer. But for that to happen, stability is necessary. Vibrational stability is the new emotional intelligence. And it's forged precisely in the heat of silence. When she doesn't visualize, when she cancels, when she goes back to her ex, when she says, "It's not the right time right now," the average man collapses. The magnetic man is grateful, because he sees in this movement the chance to further strengthen his field. He doesn't throw away the process because of one episode. He doesn't destroy the building because a window broke. He understands the bigger picture, and he remains firm. This firmness is the root of authentic seduction. Because it shows the woman that you are safe territory, not unstable ground that depends on constant approval to stay afloat. The woman, even unconsciously, tests this, and silence, absence, and even rejection are part of this game of mirrors. She wants to know if you are the man you say you are, even when no one is watching. And here arises the paradox. The more you detach yourself from the outcome, the more irresistible you become, because you no longer vibrate need but choice. And choice vibrates high. Pure desire, free vibration, mature magnetism. Feminine desire is activated in this field, not when you chase after her, but when you remain whole even when she turns her back. This isn't coldness, this is energetic integrity. There's a little discussed passage from Kabbalah that says, "The bread of shame burns the tongue of the beggar." It's a metaphor for the act of asking for what you don't yet possess through inner merit. In modern language, when you beg for love, the universe understands that you don't yet vibrate with emotional abundance, and therefore it gives you back more scarcity. And neuroscience supports this. When you enter a state of anxious expectation, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. And cortisol, in turn, blocks dopamine receptors, which are responsible for pleasure and motivation. The result? You enter a chemical state of despair. And despair repels, always. Even if you say nothing, even if you smile and seem calm, because your body speaks first, and it speaks loudly. Therefore, the big turning point is to move from reaction mode to sustaining mode. Rejection? Sustain it. Silence? Sustain it. Partial interest? Sustain it. Because this consistency transforms you into a magnetic pole. And reality, sooner or later, needs to yield. Not out of pity, but out of resonance. This is where most fail, because they confuse action with control, and they can't live the paradox, acting as if they already have it, even without having it. This is the secret of great seducers. They live in the as if they were already loved, as if they were already desired, as if reality were only delayed, not absent. And this is not pretending. It's accessing. It's embodying a superior version of yourself before the world recognizes it. And at this frequency, the game changes. The woman feels it. She realizes she is facing a rare man, not for what he has, but for who he is, even when he is not reciprocated. And this kind of presence is unforgettable, because it is rare. Therefore, the real work isn't about conquering someone. It's about not losing yourself in the process. Because if you fall apart every time you're not reciprocated, you're still a fragment. But when you remain whole, you become a mirror. And the world loves those who love themselves first. Feminine desire responds to stability, not effort. It surrenders to the field that remains vibrating high, even when everything seems silent. And that requires courage, because it's easier to chase after someone. It's easier to insist. It's easier to ask for attention. What's truly difficult is remaining whole, elegant, silently powerful. But it's in this silence that the universe works. When you don't demand, don't beg, don't ask. You just vibrate. You just sustain. You just choose to trust, because your frequency is stronger than any absence. And then one day, without warning, the answer comes. The message arrives. The gaze meets. The game changes. Not because you forced it, but because you became the magnet. There is knowledge that until now circulated underground, camouflaged in obscure forums, codified by an elite that deeply understood how desire truly works. This knowledge has been gathered, distilled, and finally organized into a single material, the Forbidden Manual, How to Trigger Desire in 60 Seconds. It's not an ordinary ebook. It's not a generic course. It's a straightforward audiobook, without beating around the bush, that unlocks the codes of the female unconscious and teaches how to activate attraction triggers in real time, even in silence. You will understand why a few words or even a gesture can ignite instant desire, and how to use this in an ethical, conscious, and strategically irresistible way. These are principles so subtle and powerful that, used correctly, they will completely transform how women perceive your presence. This material was made for those who already understand that reality bends to their frequency, but want to master the engineering of this frequency with surgical precision. If you feel you are ready, access is just a click away. Click "I want this" now and enter a level where desire is no longer sought. It's inevitable. See you on the other side.